Hello class, so today I will be demonstrating for you my Cycle 5 project. So what I decided to do with this project was create a contact list. So the purpose of this is to have like a storage space for any contacts you think that are important, and you need to make sure you always have them in case you lose your contacts and such. So that's the purpose of the project. But to start things off, it swings back and forth between databases. So if I want to register a new account, we can do this. So let's just make a random one at gmail.com. I'm not going to be using this in the demonstration because I already have an account with everything needed, but this is just to demonstrate the fact that you can register an account. And let's just say my password. So if we look onto the database here, we can see there's only one account within the database. So let's go back to the application, hit register. And once you hit register, it says your account has been created. And let's see if that is true. As you can see here, created this one right here, random email. But let's go back. Okay, so I'm going to be using one that I already created. Okay, so when you log into an account, you are popped up with this screen. So in here is a Java list that grabs any information from the context table stored. So let's look at that. So as you can see, there's 3 contacts and 2 of them are linked to the account that I created, so it displays those right here, 1 and 2. And then for the functions of within being a logged in user, you can add a contact. So let's say test phone number, add contact. And after you hit add contact, it should have added the contact, and as you can see, test is here. And then once we hit back, it'll bring us back to this page, and it is added. Oh, whoops. As you can see, it is added to the new list. Now we can hit delete, and you delete based off the contact number and the user ID. So let's just delete test 5253. To delete. Now let's see if this has been deleted. As you can see, the contact has been deleted, so that button works fine. And once you hit cancel, it just closes the screen. So now there are 2 functions that I wanted to add to this project that basically made it what I wanted it to be, and that was to email a contact and text a contact. But unfortunately, I was not able to do that, or I was unable to get it to work properly because I had troubles with the API. But to demonstrate what happens, email contact. And so the API I used was mail, or javax.mail, and within this email contact info is how I did it. But for some reason it displays that there's no password, password field declared, but there is right here, so I wasn't able to get that to work properly. Alright, and let's hit cancel. And a similar thing happened with the text. I don't know what it was, but it says that there's no class definition. So like the fact that I send a mail doesn't actually work. It should pop up down here, output. Yeah, so another error, no class definition error. I wasn't able to figure out how to work that based off of this Twilio API that I found online. And then as far as that, the last function would be to log out. So I remember in the last Java application that I made using NetBeans, a lot of people recommended that I make it more fluid and like have back buttons and just allow you to go frame to frame more smoothly. So I took that into consideration when doing this. As you can see, there's a lot of back buttons, cancels to just close one screen and such like that. So now let's get into the code of things. So the interface is the main page that it brings up. And so on this page, it initializes the components down here, or within this, that is generated by the NetBeans IDE. And so there's two buttons that I have on this, the register button and the login. So the login uses a get connection function that I created down here and used in previous projects. And so after that, it runs a query statement from the database that I have locally stored over here, and it gets if login button's pressed, it checks to see if the email in the email area and the password in the password area are equal to a value inside the table, and if it is, if the result set has a next value, then it will display the login form. If not, it'll display an option pane saying incorrect email or password. And as for the register button, it just brings you to a register form page. It's very simple. And so now let's look at the register form. So for the source of this, there's only really one button, which is the register function. So again, it connects to the database with the same function in the last page. And then it creates a prepared statement to select all where the email is equal to the email. So this is a check to make sure there aren't duplicate emails within the database. You can only use one email, or there can't be duplicate emails. So that's basically just a test for that. And if there is a value for that, then it shoots a message saying the email already exists. But if there isn't an email, then it inserts all the information that was provided with this page. And so now let's go into the login form, which would be the place or the screen that would pop up on a successful login. So now, to begin with, one of the main things I had to do to be able to use to make it unique to each account, I had to carry around ID value. So this basically is from the table in here. If we go to accounts, so the account number. So every time a new account is created, it auto increments a number. So if one account's created, let's see. As you can see, there's two accounts. The first one that I created was 2. I accidentally deleted one from before during testing, and then I created an account and automatically set it to 3. So any value with the ID of 3 will be linked directly to that. And I had to add one of these instantiations for the login form for every page, so that it always carries that ID value onto the next page, so it can keep it linked to that specific account. So one of the main things I had to do when initiating this was find a way to fill the Java list, which is this area right here, with a value from the database. So with that, I had to get a connection and create a prepared statement to select all the contacts where the ID is equal to the account number. So any value connected to that account will be displayed, and if it does, it goes through a while loop and it adds an element to the Java list, or it adds a element to the default list model, which is what will fill the Java list with values. And so it's rs.get2 or get string from the second value and rs.get string from the third value. So the way that works is, if we go into columns, this column right here would be considered the first column, this one would be the second, and this one would be the third. So that's where those values come from. And then once it gets those values and has all of them, it just sets the Java list to the default list model M, and then that fills the list with the values. And then so for that, there's how many buttons? 5 buttons. All right. So basically all the buttons do is just bring you to that page that you selected. So for add action, it brings you to the add contact page. For delete, it brings you to the delete contact, and so forth. And the logout button just creates a new interface, so that way you can log in again and just be on a fresh page. So let's go to the add contact. There's 2 values, which is the contact name and the phone number. And so the only real button that matters in this one would be the add action. So it gets a connection to a database, gets the value of the ID, and creates it into an integer so that it can be passed on into a SQL statement, since the account number is a integer value. And then delete contact, same thing, it just gets a connection to the database and then executes a query to delete the contact where the ID equals the account number and the contact name equals the contact name that you entered. And then as far as the contact name or the email contact, I created a method called, what was it? Email contact info send email, but that function doesn't work due to errors within the API, so I wasn't able to get that worked. And the same thing with the text contact, I created a Java or a function within the class called send message, but that didn't work, so I don't really see the feel necessary to explain those. So that is my project, and